Okay, we'll get started. In this section we're going to be looking at units and also unit conversion, because this is going to be 1C and then also 1D. So first thing to remember is all quantities in science are going to have units associated with them. So for example, the unit for mass is kilograms, a unit for time is seconds, a unit for distance is meters. So everything we look at is really going to have units associated with it. Now if you have numbers without units, they're usually going to be meaningless. Right? If you just give like a 5, that's unclear what that means. Is it 5 kilograms, 5 grams, 5 meters, 5 feet? So again, make sure to always include units of some kind. The most common unit for a particular quantity is going to be called the standard metric unit. Standard metric unit. Yeah. So the standard metric unit. And that's just going to be what you're going to use for that quantity unless told otherwise. So for example, if you're solving for mass, right? Unless it's specified otherwise, you're going to use the standard metric unit, which would be kilograms. So each quantity you're going to see has a standard metric unit. The next thing is prefixes. So prefixes are used to indicate a multiple of that unit. For example, a kilogram is the same as 1,000 grams. So again, it's just an abbreviation. It lets you represent multiples of a unit while using the same base unit, basically. That's one of the advantages of the metric system. So we're going to go through this. These are common metric prefixes. You're going to need to know these. There's going to be other ones that you'll see but you won't need to memorize. These you need to know. And most of them should be familiar. So the first one, the metric prefix is kilo. Kilo, abbreviated with a K. And so it's basically saying 1 kilo something is 1,000 of that thing. So if you have kilograms, that means you have 1,000 grams. The next one is centi, and centi is going to be a prefix that indicates that you have some fraction of that base unit. So, and the symbol is going to be C. So for example, if you have 1 centimeter or centimeter, that's 1/100th of a meter, or it's 1 meter times the 0.01. So it's basically saying you have a really small fraction of a meter. The next one is milli, abbreviated M. So if you have 1 milli, you're basically going to, you have 1/1000th of that unit. So if you have a millimeter, you have 1/1000th of a meter, so really small. And then the last one is micro. So if you have 1 micro, it's abbreviated with this weird U. It's called mu, the character. This is what this symbol is called. It stands for micro. So if you have 1 micrometer, that means you have 1 times 10 to the negative 6 meters. So you have like very, very small fraction of a meter. So again, the purpose of these is to just communicate units, like basically different orders of magnitude for the same units. And last thing, I'll just write this on the side. So again, these are the prefixes. So if your base unit was a meter, that's abbreviated M. Like to tack these prefixes on, if kilometer would just be km, centimeter would just be cm, micrometer would just be mm, and then, or sorry, millimeter would just be mm, and then micrometer would be mu, this little weird u, m. So those are the metric prefixes. You're going to be seeing a lot of them. And the last kind of reminder with units is that if you're doing addition or subtraction, the unit's going to remain the same. So if you add 2 meters and 2 meters, your final unit's going to be still meters. But if you're using multiplication or division, the units are going to be multiplied or divided as well. So if you have 2 meters times 2 meters, you're going to get 4 meters, but meters squared. So keep that in mind. Multiplication and division are going to alter the base unit. Addition and subtraction, it'll stay the same. It'll stay the same base unit. So that's all the stuff for units. The next thing we're going to look at is going to be unit conversion. So how to get from one unit to another. Here we go. So units can be converted to other units that measure the same quantity. Same quantity. So that basically says if you have length, if you have basically the quantity length that you're looking at, you could represent that a bunch of different ways. You can represent it with feet, meters. You could represent it with furlongs. You could represent it in centimeters. Anything, basically, or not anything. Many different units. So again, as long as it's representing the same quantity, you can convert units between each other. So again, we're going to do a couple examples down here and here. So I will go through the answers, but again, make sure that you attempt them right now first. Get as far as you can. So again, you're attempting them. Not playing words with friends. Okay, I'll go through both of these. These are two unit conversion problems. So about the level you'll see. So the first one is convert this many kilometers into miles. So to start, we're going to write out 5.742 kilometers over 1. Now we need to get it closer to miles, so a good first step was if we can get it into meters. So 1 kilometer is 1,000 m for meters. Then the next thing, we should be able to get into feet. So let's go 1 meter is 3.28 feet. And then the next thing we can get, there's a conversion from feet to miles here. Here we go. So we're going to get 10,560 feet is equal to 2 miles. And then we're really there. We got to miles. And if we look at this, all the units are going to cancel out. So kilometers on the top, kilometers on the bottom, meters cancels with meters, feet on the top cancels with feet on the bottom. So we're left with what we'd like. We're left with miles. And if we multiply all that out, we'll get our answer, which is going to be 3.57 miles. So just a reminder on this, if you're punching it in and getting the wrong numbers, it might be a good idea just to make sure you're multiplying one fraction by another. So if you're not getting the right answer for this, it might be helpful to type it in your calculator like this. Type each thing multiplied by itself, or each fraction multiplied by the next fraction. So it might be helpful to punch in your calculator 742 or 5.742 times 1,000 times 3.28, and then times the last fraction, and you have to probably put in parentheses because it has a numerator and a non-1 denominator. So 2 over 10,560. So again, just in case you're not getting the right thing, if you're not getting the math out right when you set it up right, this would be a good way to go. Just punch every fraction in separately. Okay, last one down here, meters into miles an hour. So this one's a little bit trickier because it's not, it's meters per second. So it's how many meters in a second, and that needs to go 2 miles an hour. So there's 2 units associated, and they're being kind of put one over the other. So you need 4.23 meters per second. It's technically 1 second. And then we need to miles an hour. So the first thing is we got to convert, or you don't have to do it exactly like this, but it'd probably be a good idea to convert meters to miles. So we get 1610 meters, 1 mile, 1 mile. And then we're going to take seconds and convert that into hours. So we're going to do 60 seconds is 1 minute. 60 minutes is 1 hour. And then if we look at this, everything cancels. Meters. And then we just have miles in the numerator, and then we get seconds, minutes cancel. So we're going to be left with hours in the denominator. So our answer will be in miles an hour. And this comes out to be 9.46 miles an hour. And again, if you're having trouble with the math, again, good idea to do what I did right up here and to plug every single fraction, them in separately, basically. So plug them in as separate fractions with parentheses. That way you know you're putting everything in correctly. Okay, that's the answer. So that is about it. Make sure you have the notes for both sections, including this example problem, and that's it for now.